Welcome to Ability Assistance. My name is Phyllis Jones, Chair of the North Andover Commission on Ability Assistance.
And my name is Stacey Leibowitz. I'm the Secretary of the North Andover Commission on Ability Assistance.
This month, we're celebrating over 25 episodes
Insane, huh?
of Ability Assistance, which, it's no more fitting of a way to show the town's commitment to the people with all abilities than our next guest. Wouldn't you agree, Stacey?
Absolutely.
This month's guests are Jim Lyons, Vice President of Community Advocacy, and Grant Murphy, Community Advocacy and ADA Projects Manager at Northeast Independent Living Program.
Welcome.
Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So let's start a little bit with what is NILP?
We are the Northeast Independent Living Program, and we're proud to be here today and be one of your shows here in North Andover. And we are basically an independent living center, and we are run for and by people who have disabilities. And we are what we call a cross-disability and a community-based independent living center. So those things mean that we serve people with all abilities and all disabilities, and we serve people of all ages, and we also provide community services. So we don't have actual apartments that we run, but we help people find apartments that are accessible and affordable for their needs as best can be done. So,
especially in this housing market, that's going to be
That's
difficult.
amazing.
It's very tough. Our staff do amazing things, and I'll let Grant explain. We have 4 basic services we call core services as part of our mission.
Well, so it's basically we're helping all different people with all different disabilities with any resource that is. So it's with peer counseling. So that's like meeting with the person and sharing like a shared experience and how to get over how to get Social Security or handle an issue with work or something. We also have like skills training is where we're helping people develop skills to make them more independent, as well as service coordination, which is like us making the phone call to DTA to figure out the issue
And
with
what's
foods.
DTA?
So
I always want to be careful of
no
acronyms
problem.
because not
Yeah.
everybody knows.
No problem. That's the Department of Transitional Assistance. So that's like food stamps, which you
Yep.
would say. And so service coordination is just reaching out to an organization to try to help a consumer with any issue they have regarding those resources.
Do you work with the Department of Mental Health at all?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
as a part-
DDS,
yeah,
Department of
Developmental
Services,
Services.
and
yeah.
in the Massachusetts Rehabilitation Commission.
Mass Health, I would
Yeah.
imagine.
Yeah, definitely. NILP also has a personal care attendant program, so
PCAs.
people with disabilities who are on Mass Health and qualify for a PCA, we help coordinate. They're getting a PCA, and they submit their timesheets for the PCA
Right.
to us, and that program has really grown.
I think it's like 6,000 people now.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
wow.
amazing.
When I started, we had 40.
So what is your
40
geographic
people.
area? I mean, I know what it is, but for our audience,
Yeah.
obviously North Andover's included, but what is your range? Because you're located in Lawrence, if I
Oh.
remember correctly.
Absolutely, and we appreciate your avoiding alphabet soup. And I like the Abilities Commission, and we feel the same way, and I do it myself all the time, but I catch people and Grant does too at staff meetings, because not everybody understands what this is, MRC and DTA,
Yeah,
and it excludes people. It does a lot of bad things, so that was a good point.
Oh, no problem.
And we serve from pretty much from Acton, Middlesex County to the border of New Hampshire.
That's great.
And that
up
goes
in-
all the ways up towards the border also of Maine, where like some of our North Shore communities?
Absolutely.
Right,
yeah.
right, and we also have like Newburyport, Salisbury, Seabrook, and Grant can tell you about there's another independent living center in Salem. You want to mention that?
Well,
one?
there's
He used to work there.
Well, first of all, there's
Yeah.
independent living. Just in Massachusetts, there's like 10 different centers. So that's why that's the geographical area that we serve. But we also the PCA program, because a lot of other independent living centers don't have a PCA program. So we reach out into like Salem, Lynn, Peabody, that area, because that independent living center in Salem, it just doesn't have that program, so we're able to reach out a little bit more.
That's
So
really
you can
amazing.
reach out to sister organizations. So-
Exactly.
Yeah.
Partner
So
with
if somebody
them.
says, I'd love to know about the organization in Dedham.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
you
Yeah,
don't
we
reach
would know.
Dedham.
Yeah.
Can they contact you, and then you can put them in touch with whoever
Exactly.
services Dedham?
Absolutely, and we actually and there's a website that if in case we didn't know what town is covered by who, then you just find it. You can find it pretty easy.
No.
And, I'm sorry, I
No.
was going to ask to piggyback on what you're saying about the sister organizations in the state. Really, independent living is kind of a nationwide
Even more
set
about
of
it.
organizations.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think it's really profound because I've worked with, and I think I remember you from an earlier time because I work in disability services, and I've done some work with, with the organization, like setting people up for services.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the history, because I think the history of the organization and what you do, and then we'll get more into like, there was
How the
consulting
town,
act,
yeah.
and how you work with North Andover, but I think the history is quite compelling for this organization. So if you want to discuss that, I think the audience would love to hear
I
it.
think Grant would want me to start that. That's wonderful questions,
Yep.
all of them, of course. And we started in 1981. I'm sorry, we started in 1980. We were incorporated and got a seed money from Mass Rehab Commission for an innovation and expansion grant. But prior to that, we were a part of the civil rights movement. We modeled our activities on things that were done, fighting for civil rights, and we basically expanded civil rights to include rights for people with different disabilities.
Now, you were doing this before
and-
the enactment of the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Exactly, yes.
Fantastic.
Very innovative.
And my the person that hired me was Charlie Carr, and Charlie Carr and Paul Spooner and Bill Henning, some of the founders of independent living in Massachusetts. They really started Charlie helped start Boston Center for Independent Living, and him and Susan Halloran, who used to live in North Andover at the Woodridge, when I first met her, they started the Independent Living Center in 1980, and Charlie was actually involved in some of the demonstrations and activities in the throughout the late 70s, and we had to have. Charlie was a little young for that. He was actually in rehabilitation hospitals, but he knew people. We knew people that were involved in it was health and education and welfare, the HEW, and that's really the history of our independent living, which is a movement for and by people who need the things that we advocate for and educate about. And we knew people who did things like crawl up the stairs of buses, and people who crawled up the White House steps at demonstrations. And in California, to get the Section 504, which was the rehabilitation law of '73. The Nixon administration, the government didn't implement the regulations to simplify it. For the 504 required any federally funded organization to be accessible. Like North Andover, if they receive any federal funding, like our agency, any, and it was a great step to making barrier-free environments, I like to call them, and they didn't implement the regulations.
Now, just to put it
Yeah.
in a different type of timeline,
Yeah.
so you're talking 1973
Thank you. Yeah.
for the 504
Yeah.
Act, which some parents know
Yeah.
in terms of, you know, you got the
Schooling,
IEP or the accommodations
Exactly.
through 504.
Right.
And then the Americans
Right.
with Disabilities Act, I think it was President H.W. Bush
Yep.
who enacted
Yep.
that.
You're
So
very
at that
knowledgeable.
point,
Both.
1990.
we're
Exactly.
talking
Yep.
about, you know, so we're
Yeah.
talking
Yep.
almost 20 years later, not
Yes.
quite.
A long period of time.
That's a long period of time.
Right.
And now we're operating under the Americans with Disabilities Act, which has grown substantially
Absolutely. It's
in
evolved
terms
over
of
time.
I think
what is
so.
the
Yeah.
umbrella of, or the
Yes.
definition of a disability.
Yes. Nicely.
And
Yes.
that's why we call ourselves ability assistants, because pretty
Good.
much
That's-
everybody
yeah.
can do something.
That's
Right.
good.
But they
Yeah.
might need help with doing something else. So we're not looking towards the something they can't do.
Yeah.
We're looking towards
Focus
the
on-
something they can, you know,
Right.
they need to do with the understanding of.
Right.
That's
and being
very
able to
good. I like that.
Yep, and being able to
Yeah.
support despite having a challenge or an issue, because I think, you know, it just lends itself in the title of your organization for independent
Exactly.
living, that
Yeah.
just because you have
Yeah,
a
yeah.
challenge or a
That's-
disability doesn't mean you shouldn't be afforded the opportunities that anybody in
Right.
the world has.
Right.
So,
right.
And-
It's a very freed way of looking at things, you know,
Yep.
and you know, Grant and I. That's why we do this. We like to get
I
people
was
out of
gonna
nursing
ask,
homes.
how did you-
we like to spring
how did you
people
guys get
from
involved?
institutions and help people who
Yep.
want to get their own place. And when everybody else says no, we not him. This person, we couldn't help him. We do. We help them and help them
That's
achieve
amazing.
their goals. And the first thing we hear from people is, I don't have goals. I'm trying to survive. You know. So just setting goals.
Yeah.
But that is a goal.
a skill
That
that,
is a
we
goal.
teach.
But that
Yeah.
is a goal.
Exactly.
It's a
Thank
goal.
you. Thank you. That's how we teach. And we had to wait all those years just to get 504 implemented for the regs for kids at school and everything, and had to stage a sit-in in California to get forced them to sign it back then. And that was actually a little, I was in college at the time, it was before my time, but I know people that were actually there that trained us, you know, so that's how long it took just to get 504 going, because we could just stop these folks and have them, they won't do anything, you know, and do nothing for them, and well, we had to rise up.
All
So
right. Well,
ADA
let's-
was the same.
Let's take
I
it a
think.
little bit away from the
Yeah.
political, and focus a little bit more on the personal. How did or why did you get involved? Because we all have our own stories as to
Exactly.
why
Definitely.
we've chosen to assist people who fall under that umbrella.
Well, we find exactly what you said is what happens almost all the time, I think, you know, really. And we have, I think we recruit independent living advocates or soldiers all the time. And people become like not just when somebody achieves a PCA program or somebody moves from a nursing home and they didn't think they belonged there. They become like, oh, what can I do to spread this word? You know, what you're saying and what we're saying. I think they're the same things, and you know, and that's why I've been with independent living since 1981. So I've been all along
So deeply committed.
with the
Yeah.
program, and I helped. Yeah, I didn't want to. I never want to be the chief executive officer, but I liked it. We helped us buy our building, and we grew quite a bit, you know, through the years, and it became something that was like, you know. Will the government support us? Will private sources, corporations support us and our mission? It's awful brazen, you know, and that was back in the 80s, and it's very brave, you know, and it's right out there and in your face, I think. And so people did support it, and now it's come from something that could be a maybe for the future. I think it's pretty well guaranteed. With folks like Grant involved. So I chose it because I had political science and psychology at Merrimack College, and you know, and I always wanted to dedicate my life to helping other people, you know. And Mom wanted me to be a priest, but I couldn't do that, you know. So I decided I got this job as community liaison that I saw in the Lawrence Eagle Tribune. Charlie Carr and Susan Halloran hired me, and I found a home. So my mom had injuries and had severe strokes, and the town and my brother, my dad, and I, we saved her life, and the town saved my life once, getting us to the hospital. Even before I hung up the phone, the ambulance would be at my house. So I certainly helped my mom with a lot of disability issues. She had severe arthritis and a number of disabilities all her life. So ever since I knew her, I guess those are my reasons.
Grant?
Thanks
So
for asking.
I started at a different independent living center 11 years ago as a volunteer, and so I was there like a few days a week, just helping out. And then after a few months, they offered me a full-time position, and I didn't really, I didn't seek it out for for the ability to help people. But once, as soon as I got started, they gave me a list of 30 consumers that I was working with, and a lot of them were in nursing homes trying to get out into their own apartments. And so just the initial success of that, or seeing how grateful consumers are, or how much of an impact that stuff that we're doing actually has on them, it kind of it stays with you, and it makes you keep wanting to do it. To do it for long, you just have to have a passion for it, because
Yes.
you're not going to make
Absolutely.
$1 million doing it.
Of course.
No, but it really, you do develop a passion
Yep.
for it.
Yeah. And this is why we even do the commission.
Exactly.
So, because we're
exactly.
both affected
It's wonderful.
by it in
Different ways,
with our
but-
families. So,
Yeah.
and I work in the field, so it's something that I think a lot of people who are affected or somehow have that passion. I agree.
Yeah.
You're not looking to get rich; you want to help people, and it can be incredibly rewarding. Just like you said, getting people out of nursing homes, and
Yeah.
I know that was based on a court case, and it's not in my brain right
the
now. Thank you,
Olmstead.
Yes.
Homestead Act.
Yes,
Are you trying to go attorney on me? That's my job.
No, but it affects my industry, because that's the whole point of getting people who should be in the community and not languishing in a nursing home. So, because I
Yes.
saw that, I have gone through the website to revisit and get reacquainted, and I'm like, yep, this is why we do this.
And moving,
Yes.
Moving to why you're here with the town.
Right.
Now, if I remember correctly, it was 1993 that the town last had something similar to this done. I won't
yeah,
tell you,
quite
I
a
was
length of time.
I graduated college in 1993. We won't explain how old I am now, but that's a significant period of
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, I think I
And-
assisted with that in 95, 96. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
It was a long time ago, and yeah.
so, what happened? The town got a grant.
So
Yeah.
the town received, received a grant, and they set up a bidding process. And the Northeast Independent Living Program, we submitted a bid, and they liked our proposal, and we were able to start work, surveying the municipal buildings as early as, I think maybe
February.
May 1st or something. No, no, it was a really short.
Wasn't it April?
Yeah, it was the very, very end of April, maybe
Yeah.
May 1st. And then, so I mean, that's what our role at NILP is. A good chunk of it is completing 88 transition plans for local cities and towns. And so, we got the North Andover one, and it's been great for me. I know Jim's from North Andover, but I'm getting to know North Andover, so it was a pretty good time.
Yeah. So we know some of the buildings,
Mm-hmm.
we have some firsthand knowledge. Both of my kids went to
Right.
the Atkinson, which
Yeah.
back in the day used to be the middle school. Was that where you went to middle school?
It was a high school when I went there.
Okay.
But we were the first school in the new high school, but that was torn down, so we got a new one now in 70. Yeah, you're right.
So what I know from personal knowledge, what I saw
Yeah.
wasn't there, but
Mm-hmm.
what did you find at the Atkinson that you've recommended to the town?
So for Atkinson, it was. I mean, it's an older building, so there was a good amount of things to list, but it's all minor stuff like doorknobs or raised letter braille signs, or if there's like a machine room or an electrical room, that the door handle has to have a knurled back to it, so if someone who's visually impaired gets to that door, they know that there's, it's something potentially dangerous on the other end of that door. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, it was just the signage in a bunch of different places, but it was just signage and door handles for the most part.
I'm sorry.
My
we always speak over each other.
My passion is always the blue buttons.
Yes.
Did you recommend any blue buttons?
You mean like automatic doors?
Exactly.
So
yeah.
and you can
Yeah.
tell me if I'm wrong, but is that that's obviously very helpful, and most schools did have them. The older ones, I'm not sure if they did or they did not.
I don't think
but if
the
they-
Atkinson did.
But it's not. I mean, am I correct or not? I don't want to be wrong, but I don't think it's like federally mandated. Like that's not a part of the ADA. Like that you have to have automatic doors.
Well, I know that it needs parking. The parking needs van parking.
Yep.
I don't think the parking was correct. And, I mean, I don't have time to look it up, but I'll check and see if we recommended that. I think it's a great recommendation. And what we do is we take feedback from people, and if it's okay with Grant, whether or not we had that in our draft, which is what we sent to you, we're going to add it. I like what you call them, the blue dots. I love electric door openers myself. So if we didn't recommend it, what was that?
Atkinson.
I'm sorry, my memory's not what it was.
That's
but
quite all right.
we will add
Real-time work.
Yeah.
it. If it's not in there, we'll add it. Is that okay, Grant?
Yeah, it's fine, right?
Because those, and I'm not getting business to the companies. We have friends that that install them.
Right.
You probably do too. But yeah, the electric doors are lovely. They don't tend to break very often. We have 3 of them at our office, but one of them's kind of exposed, so we built a box to protect. Anyway, these are details so we will add that if it's not in it. Thank you.
And
Thank you.
Yeah, thank
That'd
you.
be
We
great to
appreciate the
have it.
real-time work on,
Yeah.
on that.
We had that
And-
happen when we had our
Yeah.
legislative delegation on.
They
Yeah.
were taking the notes.
Yes,
We-
exactly.
So-
Yeah, we have a door tester. It's like a tire gauge, and it tests the pressure too.
Oh, that's
And I
great.
think
That's
if it's
fantastic.
over
We
9,
obviously want to be safe with
Yeah.
everything. and-
Exactly.
if it's over 9 pounds pressure, we recommend those door openers.
And I think this is great information for our audience because
Yeah.
this is information that
Yeah.
I had a chance to peruse the reports
Yeah,
and go through, and definitely a lot of, as you said, light reading.
Yeah.
But those were some of the things that came through, that there were those themes, and I think overall kind of minor themes, because our
Right.
town has, I think, in a lot of ways, has done a great job, and the openness
Absolutely.
for more. But the braille was something that came through. Obviously, the doors, those types of that kind of rough edge. I can't remember what they're called.
Yeah.
Knurled, yes.
Yes,
Those are
and
good
then
ones,
also
yeah.
the height, because I think we
Right.
take for granted, that people might be in a wheelchair.
Right.
So the height of soap dishes, the height, those are the things
Yes.
that we may not be aware of. So, and I
Yes.
don't know if there were other recommendations in addition to those general ones. Obviously, the automatic doors, because we're thinking of like the Elder Center. We've had experience with that, and also Town
Yes.
Hall.
Yeah.
you
And the
know,
library.
And the library.
Yeah. So
yeah.
So I mean, basically, the seniors. Sorry, for the senior center, it was just mostly. It was all because they didn't have raised letter braille signs for the different offices
Right.
that just said
Exactly.
directors or whatever,
Yeah.
it is, or like
Yeah.
noting each meeting room, and. And it was also the parking, which is also a part of town hall. So it was
Right,
the parking
yes.
that was out there.
Needs the restriping too.
And so, I mean, it wasn't
Yeah.
a lot. I mean, a lot of the newer buildings. I mean, there just wasn't like a whole lot of things to list.
That's good.
Now,
to know.
we're building a new senior center.
Yeah,
Did
yeah.
you
Yeah.
look
Told
at
us that.
those plans to be able to say, this might need to be changed, or that might need to be tweaked?
Yeah, we haven't got the plans yet, but we will look at them, and it's actually it's near my house actually, so that's a great idea. we'll check them. I think they're going to have that done in a year or two.
Yes.
So that's a
Very
great
soon.
idea.
You know, get it done now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
put it
Before
on the
everything,
plan.
before the structure
Exactly,
goes
because
up.
it'll
Yeah.
be easier to lower a sink level, lower a soap dish, you know,
Yeah.
There are
when it's
occasions,
initially.
And that's- and
there
that-
are
in some of the older
occasions things
schools.
are missed. Sorry.
Yeah, in some of the, in some of the
Yeah.
some of those schools that was an issue. It was like the soap dispenser was too high or the paper towel dispenser was too high.
What about like wheelchair accessible stalls?
Yeah.
And making sure the sizes, because you can see, yes, they might say it's wheelchair, because you go into a restaurant, I mean, I've become so much more aware that it's technically wheelchair accessible, but it may not really be, depending on the size of a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Because you have to think about the, mechanical wheelchairs, automated wheelchairs, that there's so many different types.
Exactly.
It's not a
so
standard
It's not a
size.
standard size, so
Yeah.
we have to take a
Right.
look at that as
So
well.
Yeah, I think it's
Right.
like a 36 inch
And
Yeah.
turning radius.
the
that you
best
need.
exactly. That's what I was going to say. Yeah, in front of the toilet, a radius of 36 inches, so
Yep.
an electric wheelchair can turn around. Right.
So you have to have that ability to do that. And
Yeah.
also with the
Right.
senior center, the
Right.
new one, which we're very excited to see happen, that
Yes.
it's also going to be kind of an activity center. It's going to be
Yeah.
more than just, which I think is very exciting, a mixing and mingling of
Yeah,
everyone.
and it's going to bring the
So-
senior center population a little bit more current.
Yes. And so having that mixture also opens itself up with other things,
That's
making
good.
sure that we're ADA compliant if we have younger folks going in that may have other issues. So I think this is a great opportunity before the building is completed to take a look and make sure we're even beyond the standard, if we can
Yeah.
be.
That's the way to do it. I mean, the town builds in that way.
Yeah.
Generally,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to enjoying the new facility myself.
We'll be
You
happy
know,
to have
I'm
you.
Totally, I'm totally eligible, and so I think it's making it a better place.
Yes.
What you're saying.
And that's
so
That's the whole
the whole
point.
what the
point.
commission's doing. I'm glad. Yeah.
Now, what about, now, I know from talking to you before the show, you didn't have anything to do regarding the police station and the ramp, but we've all gotten complaints about that ramp over the past, what have we been, 5 years?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
past few years,
Because, you know, we know people who've come to us and said that that ramp is difficult for them to navigate. You said that wasn't part of your plan, but
All right, we didn't include it as recommendations that need to be done because was it Officer Bonanno
Yes.
took us around and he informed us that there was already plans set that ramp is going to be taken down and there'll be a different ramp built.
Excellent.
And
Right.
that will not be as long and it'll go face out, I feel like the opposite direction or something.
and it's not going to be as high.
Exactly. Yes.
Right.
So,
Yeah, it's
so,
gonna be
so we
gonna
didn't-
be better.
So
Yeah.
the only reason why I wasn't included is because we were under, we have.
They're
the
moving
understanding.
on
Yes.
it, they're moving
Yeah.
on it, which makes
And
complete
they're
sense.
sharing the plans, and they're going to involve us in it, which is what we
That's
like to
great.
do.
That's
Like you say, it's
fantastic.
easier at the outset to be involved when it's designed, and the recommendations as they are now are that it's the wear and tear has caused an awful lot of concrete to wear off, which creates cracks and holes, which are wheelchairs could get stuck in, and people.
So it's a safety
Or,
issue.
or
And
even
you got
somebody
the
walks with a
complaints.
cane.
Yeah, so
Yep.
you know
Yeah.
better than me. You got the
Yeah.
complaints. And there's a spot where it's too steep, and we did note that. And if it's not replaced within a couple years, they should redo the section that's too steep. And certainly they had planned on fixing because one of the railings I think was becoming compromised. So
Yes.
they planned on fixing everything. They seem to have been on top of it.
That's,
so
we
Yeah.
know the police department
Yeah.
has been a tremendous
they've been
friend
great.
to us, so if
Yeah.
Officer Bonanno had said it's in
Yeah.
the works.
Yes.
It's in the works.
It's in the works.
yes, they're responding to everything, and that's good. So-
Now, we had discussed the Atkinson. We've got a couple of other older elementary schools and the middle school. What, the Sergeant NAMS, I know I'm forgetting, the Kittredge, and the Thompson. Did you have any recommendations for those elementary schools?
So for Sergeant,
Yeah.
it was just I know they have that big ramp in the middle, but we didn't really have an issue with that.
Oh, yeah.
Most of all of the findings were knurled handles on every storage closet, like literally everyone, and then raised letter braille signs on each classroom. Most of them, I would say like about 50% had them, but like there was like some teachers name things. So just basically just clearing that up, which is not like it's such a minor, such a minor.
But it's those minor things though that make it difficult to navigate.
They add up, yes.
Yep.
And it's all about safety.
Yes,
It really is a safety for everybody, I think.
Right.
You know,
Minor issues
Makes
that
it
can
better for
easily
everybody.
cleared up, but could be major for that
And I know I
individual.
forgot one of the elementary schools,
Right.
so if somebody out there is saying, you forgot mine, I apologize in advance.
Is it
well,
Franklin?
The Franklin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, everywhere needs a van sign. I don't know if it had one. So if they need van accessible parking,
Yep.
so that was definitely.
That's another one.
Go ahead, Grant. He knows better than me.
No, so
It's a definite
so
one,
I
yeah.
remember the Tom's.
Yeah.
Tom's, I don't know how to say that, but it.
The Thompson.
Yeah, Thompson School. That was very. I think there was like one or two things, and it was like a closet here or there. So I felt like that school was really accessible. Kittredge, off the top of my head, I feel like it sounds long. So I'm not. I'm just trying to remember the school, to be honest. So.
Yeah.
I feel like we definitely found some issues there, but again, with no matter what building and no matter how new or
Right,
old
you're
it
gonna
was,
find something.
You're gonna
it's
find
basically-
something.
Yeah, it's.
But that's why you were brought in.
Yeah, it's
so
the
that's
handle.
the whole
yeah,
point.
yeah.
And what's
Yeah.
good to hear is that we know some of these buildings are older.
Right.
We know some of these buildings, need assistance, but they're not as bad off as,
Right. It's not drastic.
Exactly.
It's not drastic.
That's what we felt too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the town was open. The town was
Yeah.
open
Exactly.
to having, they want to be progressive. They
They-
want to make
they
sure we're
asked
in
us-
compliance.
They invited
So,
us, and,
yeah,
and
so
thank you. And thank
that
you.
says a lot.
And we appreciate it. And the attitudes of the teachers, all of them, and the staff and the people that gave us tours, and as we passed by the officers, the first responders, they all had wonderful attitudes. Like,
Yes.
teach us, Grant and Jim, what do we need to do here for people with differing disabilities. That's the impression I got from everybody. I have to say thank you, and I'm very, very proud of my town. And my
Same
grand.
here.
Yeah,
my-
we are very,
We're very proud too.
We are very proud
I
too.
I don't know if you ever saw my grandmother's story. She was born in on a farm where the common is, where they have the sheep shearing.
yeah.
The old
Yeah, oh,
common.
yeah,
It was
the
a
old common.
Davis farm there.
Yep.
I have it on the 1888 map. And she has a story. She was a poet with the what's the name of the teacher that the school's named after?
Anne
Oh,
Bradstreet?
Yeah,
Bradstreet.
my grandmother was class of 1903, North Andover High School. So, so she talks a lot about North Andover through those years. So some of it's in the library. But thank you for the honor of being here this morning.
Oh,
No, we're
happy
thrilled.
to
And
have
you used to have my job. You used to chair the commission.
Yes, and
that's
and I
right.
have to say I like the way you do it now. The way you run it is wonderful.
Oh,
thank
thank
you.
You do
We
it
try.
you do it the right way.
Yeah, well,
I'm
we
very
want to be
appreciative.
inclusive. We want to provide information to the community
Yes.
and
That's what you do.
be out there. And we appreciate having both of you on. And I mean, I do have one other question that
Of
is a
course.
little off the consulting piece, because that is obviously one of the services that that the organization offers. I know that I've been part of some of the training, and I wanted to sort of round it off with some of the trainings that are provided, because you do
you.
trainings for the general community on
Sure.
disability and understanding people with disabilities, but also intersectional training. So you may have a disability,
Exactly.
but be gay. You may have a disability and have some other cultural concern. So no person is
do.
just one in a box type
Yes.
of person.
Nice,
Tell us a
yes.
little bit about the trainings that you offer to organizations or to the community as a whole.
Well, for instance, so we definitely do like a disability
Yeah.
awareness
Yes.
and
Right,
training.
and we have a whole division. It's called the Education Division.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for instance, we just was it a couple weeks ago. We just did a training
Yes.
for in the town of Oxford for their
First
responders. So we did police and fire.
Yes. Mark
So
and
that
Gabe,
went,
yeah.
so that went well. And so we normally do that. Then we have like we do monthly trainings for like the medical for CCAs, which is like. The medical field, like a medical field. So basically, we're trying to
healthcare associates.
Yeah,
big,
exactly.
huge medical.
So we're trying to
And we
get
train
our
the
message
staff
out. So it's like
on the things you were saying. Yeah,
Yep.
and awareness.
Hopefully, this show will
Yeah.
help you get
Yes.
that message out because
thank you.
we know, because we've gotten
Yes.
feedback. Towns like Andover and Wakefield have reached out to us because of how this show is aired,
Exactly.
that
Yeah.
they're watching it.
I love your show.
Yeah.
All of these shows have been great. I love watching it at home. So
Oh,
thank you for that.
That's wonderful.
Great.
Yes.
Well,
We're so
well,
happy to hear that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But that would be wonderful. We could help them. We have basically inclusion trainings and awareness of differing disabilities and where we, like Sheila does the trainings on
Yeah.
what does she call it, the awareness.
Yeah.
And we don't like the word sensitivity.
Yeah.
So
it's basically just
Awareness is, I think, a great,
yeah,
a great
awareness,
word.
and so we do that. Yes, thank you for saying
No,
that.
absolutely.
Yeah, we
I
also-
think the
yeah.
trainings are remarkable because, again, I've had
Thank
the
you.
benefit and it stays with me, even though
that's
this
nice.
has been lifelong for me because I do have a sibling with a disability. I think it goes across the lifespan, and I feel like being in the community, it should be seamless for people, and that's where that
Yeah.
education comes in. So it's appreciated.
I feel the
And,
same.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I mean, my son's back in the hospital.
Right.
And we've got an application open with DMH.
Right.
And they're saying it's a 90-day wait period just to get them to review the application before putting the services in place. So,
a long time.
or, yes.
It's a long time,
Yes. Hopefully he comes out before that's done, but unfortunately he's been in and out of the hospital 5 times since COVID.
Yeah.
And especially we have an entire generation of kids right now
Yeah.
who, COVID didn't affect people just physically,
Yeah.
but they affected an
Mentally,
entire
emotionally.
generation,
Yeah.
emotionally,
Yeah,
mentally,
damage.
cognitively.
Educationally,
Sure.
it's across the board.
So
Yeah.
services like yours are
Absolutely.
fantastic because hopefully it'll help those kids
It's
Yeah.
critical. It's critical.
as well
Yeah.
to kind of go back to what they would call normal,
Right.
Yeah. You're right on target.
So,
People aren't aware of that either. People would like to put COVID, sweep it under the rug.
Right.
And
In the rear
that's-
view.
You don't want to
Yes.
do that.
But we can't. We can't. It's had too much
Yeah.
of an
It's had too much
effect.
effects
it's,
and too many
especially for
Thank you.
those who
Yeah.
come
Yeah.
under the ADA Act for a
Yes.
variety of different reasons.
Because you have those, what people call invisible illnesses, which are not
yes.
really invisible, but
We-
it may
we-
not be a physical, but you're
Right.
dealing with mental health, you're dealing with cognitive. So
Yes.
or a combination of.
Right.
Yes.
So being able to address those from organizations such as yours
Right.
is of huge importance. So bringing that to the public,
We
bringing that
feel
locally and beyond.
Thank you. We feel we were disproportionately affected with the
Yes.
virus.
I'm sure.
I'm sure.
Definitely. And the first thing, like we have people who have multi-medical needs, so that
Yeah.
they go
Yes.
in the hospital for needs they know about. They're trying to explain what's going on. And, we're going to test you for COVID right away. Those are COVID symptoms.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah. It
listen,
may not be.
COVID, fine, but I know they know what's
Right,
going on, and
right.
they try telling people, and we're going to test you for COVID. It was a rough time. You're
Yeah,
absolutely
yeah.
right.
Or
Well
even-
said.
Or even
Well
when,
said, thank you.
back in the 3rd grade, my
Yeah.
son wasn't COVID, it was the
Yeah.
flu.
Yeah.
He didn't
Yeah.
have the normal flu symptoms. You normally think, the aches, the pains, the chills.
Right.
No,
You
he
never
collapsed
know.
into a grand mal seizure out of nowhere.
Whoa.
And it took that for the doctors to listen to. I like to call it Dr. Mom because that was
Yeah.
the term my mother used.
Yeah.
To listen to
Yeah,
Dr.
she's the
Mom
best.
because he was twitching a lot when he was younger. And I said, something
Yeah.
needs to be done. And it
Right.
took that for them to diagnose he has epilepsy, neurological epilepsy,
Yeah.
So-
in addition to.
So it's
Yeah.
patient advocacy or
Yes.
advocacy
It's-
for the
it's-
people. And I went through the same thing with my sister,
Yeah.
who is not only developmentally challenged, but also has a coexisting mental illness.
Yeah.
And so having that advocacy to be able to see, and I know Northeast Independent Living has provided in the past services for her. quite a while ago, and that was incredibly helpful because of all the issues, but there's a lot of advocacy that families need to do, and having, again, knowing that what you provide and kind of tying things, like I have seen on your website, and this is what we try to do even where I work, is that there's no wrong door. There's no wrong door of entry
I like that too.
you go through, and we look at that too where I am, that's what we're trying to do, because even if we can't serve somebody, we want to make sure we're pointing them in the right direction.
And that's what we do at the commission, exactly.
We do it here.
Yes, you do.
You know, I never want to say, well, sorry, we can't do anything for you, good luck. You know, that's a horrible thing. It's like, there are services, even if we're not the right one, here are some options, and that's what you're about, that's what we do. So we really appreciate having you on the show today.
And we
Thank
really
you so much.
appreciate you doing what for
welcome.
the town, what you did, because again, the town's been super supportive of us. You
Good.
know, so if they're
Well,
super
they should.
supportive of us, I can only imagine, well,
good.
or know
It's a good
how
partnership.
super, how
Yeah,
super
it's
supportive they
wonderful.
are for
Yes.
the town as a whole.
So we're
Yes.
very, very happy about that.
Thank you, thank you.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
And on behalf of all
better
of
now.
us at the North Andover Commission on Ability Assistance, thank you again, gentlemen, for joining us on Ability Assistance and help informing us of what you've done here for the residents of the town. You can reach Northeast Independent Living Program by contacting Jim Lyons, Vice President of Community Advocacy, and his email, and it'll be at the end of the program as well, is jlyons, that's J as in Jim, L as in Larry, Y as in yes, O as in Oscar, N as in Nathan, S as in Sam, my father hated that when I did that, at NILP, as in Northeast Independent Living Program.org. And Mr. Grant Murphy, their Community Advocacy and ADA Projects Manager. And you can also reach him at G Murphy, that's G as in George, M as in Mary, U as in Umbrella, R as in Richard, P as in Peter, H as in Henry, Y as in yes, at nlp.org. And he also was kind enough to give us his phone number, which is 978-678-4288, extension 130. This is our last show of the season, but don't worry, we'll be back in October, where our guest will be Maya Paul. And I know I've told you about this girl. This is a fantastic individual who, her story was printed in the Boston Globe. It was actually our state rep, Christina Minicucci, who introduced her through that to me.
Nice.
She found herself paralyzed from the waist down, and didn't realize, like all of us, didn't realize what happens, all those things, until you have to live with them. So I'm looking forward to that episode.
Me too. I think that's going to be very enlightening. So we're looking forward to that. For today's episode, we'd really like to thank our all-volunteer crew, official graduates, congratulations graduates from Greater Lawrence Technical School. I hear applause in the back. So Cassie Buono and John Kafori, thank you both. You've been an incredible asset to our programming. And from Curry College, our very own Carly Jones, thank you.
She hates when you say that. You know that.
But I love it because she has been there since the beginning. She's our very own.
She really is. We're constantly looking for new topics to explore here at Ability Assistance. I'm currently looking for guests to invite on our November through March shows, believe it or not. And we would truly love to know what topics you want to know more about. If there are any specific topics that you'd like to learn more about, please email me at pjones@northandoverma.gov. That's P as in Phyllis, J as in Jim, O as in Oscar, N as in Nancy, E as in Edward, at northandoverma, that's all one word, .gov. And in addition to watching us through your cable station, you can catch all of our programming on demand via YouTube, the Cablecast app through Roku and Apple TV, the North Andover CAM website, and we have everything on podcast on Podbean. Have a great summer, everyone.